Have you ever had to install a software and then they ask you to add a specific line to your .bashrc file, but you don't really know what it means? So here we are finally going to understand what is a .bashrc file and what are environment variables. Every time you open a terminal, a program called bash starts a new session. Bash is the program that reads and interprets the commands that you type and tells the operating system what to do. It also prepares the environment in which your commands and programs will run. And part of this environment preparation consists of environment variables. Environment variables are simple name valued pairs that store useful information, such as paths, user settings, or software configuration. Instead of hard coding this information in every script, the programs now, in whatever directory they are run, they can actually access these variables directly in the environment. One widely used variable is home, which tells the path to your home directory. Another one is user, which tells your current username. Another one is pwd, print working directory. This variable just states the directory that you are currently in. Then there is path. Path is one of the most important environment variables. It contains a list of directories where bash should look for executable programs. That's why you can sometimes just call a program by their name instead of the complete location to the executable file. Bash will search in these directories inside path until it finds an executable that matches this name. If it doesn't find it, it will give an error and saying that this variable is not defined or this comment is not found. This variable path is normally created when you log in your computer using your default system directories. But then if you want, you can add more paths to this variable so that you can put the paths to your executables of interest. Beyond these standard environment variables, researchers also use environment variables to store and control other settings. So you might have seen already something called Python path to tell Python where to look for custom models outside the default directories. Another one is, for example, rlibs user to define custom directories where R packages should be installed and loaded. So to define and save a variable, basically you just need to write export, then the name of your variable equals to, and whatever you want to save in this variable. Then, whenever you call the name of this variable again in this terminal, it will print out whatever is associated with that variable. But this brings us to a major trap: session volatility. If you open another terminal right now and you ask to print this variable again, it will say it's not recognized. And that is because the variable that you just defined was defined in a given bash session. Whenever you open another terminal, that is no longer there because we are in a new bash session. This is where .bashrc comes in. This file is usually located in your home directory and it's either. This file details the startup settings of your terminal. So just like an application on your phone that loads your preferences every time it starts, the bash reads the .bashrc file whenever you open your new terminal and applies those commands and settings to this new terminal. So in this .bashrc file, you will see commands that define environment variables, that modify your paths, that create shortcuts, which are called aliases, or that customize how your terminal looks, change the colors, and all these things. So if you want to make a variable accessible every time you open a new terminal, you have to save it not in the terminal directly, but add a line in the .bashrc file where you save or export this information. So now you might wonder, what about other files like .bash profile or .profile? Actually, these files can also define environment variables and modify the paths as well. But the main difference is when they are actually loaded. .bash profile or .profile is typically loaded when you log in, while .bashrc is loaded whenever you open a new bash terminal. So for settings that you want available in every terminal and you want to try to use it and quickly set it up, .bashrc is more convenient. So now that you know the theory, let's practice. Okay, let's practice. I'm already on my Linux machine and I'm going to open a terminal and we are going to print out some of the variables, environment variables that are already saved. So we'll first use the command echo, which is used to print, and we'll first print out the variable home. This shows us that our home is, in this case, /home/Rita. We can also print the variable user, which in this case is Rita. And we can also print, for example, our current directory, which is given by the variable name pwd. In this case, the current directory is home/Rita because it's where we are. But for example, if I go to desktop and I do the same thing, we'll see that indeed the current directory is home/Rita/desktop. So these are more or less the more used variables that already exist. And the other one that is important is the path. So we'll do echo path. And this variable is special because it shows us a list of paths where our computer is going to look for programs. So we'll look for any programs that are in this folder, Rita miniconda bin, or on this folder, conda bin, or this one, or this one, or go, and so on and so forth. So we'll search for all the paths that are here, and you'll be able to call any program just by writing its name of the program if this program is inside one of these paths. We can also create our own variable. So let's try. For this we do export, and now the name of our variable, for example, my variable equals to something. We can say, for example, hello. And now if we do echo and we call my variable, you'll see that it says hello. So this variable is now accessible in our system, in our environment, and is not only accessible by the bash itself, but also in Python, for example, or other programs. So we could do a simple script in Python to actually call this environment variable. So to do this, we'll just do a simple script. We'll call Python -c, and we'll just import first the operating system tools, which is OS, and then we'll do a print, and we'll call the environment variables from the OS system, environ, and now we'll call our variable, which we called my variable. We'll close parentheses, we'll close the parentheses of the print, and then like this. Environ. So now we can see that we just made a simple script in Python that just prints the variable name, and we can see that it works. We can see hello because indeed Python can access this variable. So now imagine you want to create a specific program or an executable where you can run from anywhere in the computer. We'll first start by creating our executable file. So I'm in my home directory, and I will just create a folder so that it's more organized. I'll call it my tools. Oh, I just want first to create my tools, and now I'll go inside my tools. There's nothing, and we'll just create a simple bash script program. So to create a bash script, we have to write this at the start so that we know that the computer knows it's the bash script, and we'll just do some simple echo of something. So we'll just say, hello, this is my code, and we save it, and we can see indeed that this is the content of the code. And to execute it, we have to do this command chmod plus x and then my program. We can see that indeed it changes to green. This is because now we can execute it. To execute it, we just call it like this, because we are here and we just call my program. And we can see that indeed it prints hello, this is my code. Okay, so this runs because I'm calling it from here, but if I go outside my tools, for example, the only way that I can run my program is by calling the entire path. So I have to say like this, to go into my tools and then my program and call it like this. But this is a bit annoying. We don't want to be always writing the full path. So to do this, we can define, we can export this path to the path variable, so that then the computer actually knows that if you call my program, it will look into all the folders that are in the path variable, and it will recognize this program and run it. So you don't need to give the path all the time. We can just run the path, the command my program. So to do this, we'll do as we did before. We'll export a variable. So we'll do export, and the variable is called path, and we'll say it's equal, and now we put the path to our variable, to our program. So in this case, my program is in home, my tools is in home, and in my tools. But now what we want to do is to add this in front of the existing path variable, because as I showed before, path is a combination of several different paths. So we'll do the two dots, as we've seen that they are separated by these two dots, and we'll add it in front of the variable called path. So now if I do echo to path, we can see I did something wrong, which is I forgot this symbol to indicate that indeed this is my variable called home. Now if we check path, we can see that there is indeed a path to where my tools are, my program is, which is in home, Rita, my tools, and then the program is inside it. Okay, there is also the other path that I added by mistake, but that's not a problem. So now if we are here, I'm not in the folder where I created my program, right? My program is created inside my tools, but if I now just called my program, it runs. I don't need to give the full path as I was giving before. But now there is a trick. If I close this window and I start a new terminal, if I do this again and I called my program, it will say command not found. Why? Because indeed we define it as an environment path, but just on the other terminal. Whenever we open a new terminal, we lose all these instantaneous variables. If we want to define a variable forever in our system, so that is saved whenever we open a new terminal and is always there, for this we have to go to the bashrc file. So we can see the bashrc not like this, because this only shows the not hidden files. If we do ls-la, we can see the hidden files, and we can see here that there is the bashrc file. So we'll just edit this file. We'll do nano bashrc, and we can edit it now. We can also just go into the file explorer and just make sure that you enable here the visualization of the hidden files, and we also see the bashrc here, and you can edit it from here as you prefer. Okay, so here there are a lot of things that are already written, because there are needed, and this was already automatically. And we go to the end, and we'll add here our own variable. So we'll do exactly as we were doing before. We'll do export, and now path equal to home, home, my tools, and now we want to add it in front of the path, like before. So like this. So here we'll just save it. And now, if we call my program again, my program, it will not run again because we need to restart the terminal to so that it incorporates the changes we just made in the bashrc file. So we'll just call another, open another terminal, and now if we run my program, we can see it works. So now every time you open a new terminal, you can run this this program called my program. So you can add everything you want in, well, you can add a lot of things in this bashrc file. You can also delete them if it's no longer useful for you. You can edit it and just make sure that maybe you keep a copy in case something happens with the bashrc file that you are editing. But basically that's it. I hope you liked it and thank you for watching.